going to call the Policy and Budget Committee to order. Agenda review and disposition. Any changes?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Approval of minutes for April 16, 2019. Does anybody have any changes to said minutes? Okay, they're going to stand approved as written. Fiscal year 19 budget updates. Mr.
Yes,
Allen.
let me hand out, start out that facilities committee stuff. Two sheets coming around, one are revenues and the other are appropriations. Summary. And we'll be talking a little bit more about the rest of the year and the finish of the construction project also during facilities meeting. Let me start with the revenue sheet, and that's the long list of revenues. As you all know, if we hit our revenue targets, that's great. If we exceed them, that means that money goes back to reduce taxes. And right now, we're in pretty good shape. Obviously, unreserved fund balance is what we used last year to reduce taxes. Revenue from state sources, 97% from CAT aid. We got all of our equitable aid and vocational tuition has come in better than expected. Down under federal sources, Medicaid is at 78%, IDEA at 69%, that's special ed grant, and Title I at 136%. So we're in good shape there. And then local revenues, taxes, we had projected $400,000 in revenue, $387,000 or 97%. We've received already in cash. We've billed $431,000, so those are some other payments that are coming in from districts that sent students here, or private pays. Vocational tuition, that's payment from Newfound, and we'll be getting another one a little bit later. So when you look at those revenues that we have up above, we're off. When you take our billable amount, we're off $52,437 from hitting our 100% target. Again, it's May. We will be getting more money in those asterisk categories, Medicaid, IDEA, and co-curricular. That'll be money that will be transferred over from the activity fund to the general fund. So we're going to hit our revenue targets just fine. When you look at the sheet that Dan prepares for you, which is the other sheet that I handed out, you can see the unexpended balance is $1.1 million. That doesn't mean there's $1.1 million left. That just means that's unaccounted for at the moment. We're taking out the sped borrowing, and then we have a number of bills to pay later in the month: co-curricular athletics, park and rec payment. Also, we have some other expenditures. Special ed, if you look in the right-hand corner, you'll see sped tuition, sped purchase of services. You get some high numbers in those categories. Some of that money will be used for special education. So right now, we're projecting out making our revenue targets, and there's about $811,000, but we'll be actually cutting into that. But the all in all, if you're going to have an unreserved fund balance, and you may be able to vote on retaining some fund balance too, as well as, in talking facilities, finishing up a lot of the loose ends in the construction project and meeting the, as you know, we have safety grant and also recommendations from Homeland Security to do. So we're doing some of that work with your permission this summer with some of this money. So all in all, we're in pretty good shape.
Mr. Howard, is this on the website, these two sheets?
No, I don't put anything on the website until you see it. I don't put it on the website until you see it.
Okay.
But we're happy to put it on tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Question?
Yes.
With regard to special ed,
Yep.
what is the ratio as far as what our district pays with our school and what the state pays? How does that get worked out?
I would call it a sliding scale at best. We pay the bill, and then anything in an individual program, anything above 3.5 times the state average tuition, they're supposed to reimburse us for. Those costs now, we've been getting about 61% of reimbursement. We're supposed to be at 100%.
Okay.
Above 3, so about 77, the first $77,000 is ours. And then we're supposed to be reimbursed above that, but we're only gonna get like 60 cents on the dollar.
And is that just based on the legislature and how that?
Yes, it's based on, here's how much money you have, so here's how much the cities and towns and the schools are getting.
All right, thank you.
MOU, Campus Resource Officer,
Yes.
memorandum of understanding.
Yes, I'm going to pass you out a draft for you to take with you, quite frankly, and call in with any comments or concerns. And we are working with Plymouth Police Department. And this is a marked up copy. I haven't flowered it up at all. This is the one copy that came over from Chief LaFave. We had a meeting, Chief LaFave and Alex Hutchins, who's the deputy chief. Mr. Parsons was there, along with Mr. Austin, and also Mrs. Flynn and Mrs. Carey from the elementary school. And we talked about what our needs were. I thought we had a very, very good meeting. And then the MOU was put together for the resource officer. So if you look at the memorandum of understanding, you can see there's got to be some wording changes. But what I want you to do is just take a look, when you have some time, just take a look at the two documents and let me know if you have any concerns. Basically, the first page is a job description. It's for lack of a better term, there are bullets there, in term bulleted items that sort of say, you know, what the role is. And then also a memo between the police department and ourselves. Anybody working in the school, if they become aware of or witness any of these listed events, they need to tell us right away. Which is, we already have that in a memo of understanding with the police department anyway. All right.
Any questions?
And again, this will be on your agenda for next month. So it's nothing we're going to rush through. I want both school boards to be very comfortable with the memo of understanding, both Pemmy Baker and Plymouth Elementary School.
Are you looking for us to make comments?
Make comments or just say, I'm happy with it, looks like you got what you need. As you can see there, Tim, we need to spell out the costs and what goes back. Basically what we have agreed to and the warrant article spoke to was we're going to buy the services of a police officer for about 185 days. And we will pay those costs for 185 days. Plus there was some equipment and some training for a resource officer. And then that payment of 185, the number of those days, high school is going to pay 65% of the tab, elementary school 35%, and that ratio for this year coincides with what the park and rec ratio is for services on the grounds. Now that may come back, hey, the officer spends 50% of the time at the elementary and 50% of the time at the high school, then we'll adjust it the following year.
You anticipate him spending 2/3 of his time here?
You know what, sort of I don't know yet, Peter.
Okay.
We just had to go, we had to take a number, so we just took the park and rec equation. We'll have to wait and see.
Are schools still required to develop safety plans?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Now more than ever, Phil. It's, and the Homeland Security and all those folks are constantly checking and They come to our meetings at times. Yeah.
And is your term crisis team member, is
Yes.
that the school safety committee?
Yes, yep.
Okay, thank you.
Without reviewing this yet, will this person become part of our staff? Will
No.
they be?
It's a police
Okay,
officer.
so
Flat
they're
out,
outs-
it's a
all right.
police officer. We'll be dressed in a uniform. It's not going to be running around here looking like one of the kids.
Okay, so we're paying for the services as we would if they came to a basketball game or something like
Yes.
that?
Yeah.
And we pay for this, we have a contract for 185 days, is that how it works?
Yeah, we're buying 185 days of a full-time officer.
And what if we don't want to re-up the contract? Is that?
Don't have to.
Is that how it works?
Yep.
Like every year we'll revisit it? Okay.
Is that 185 days, whether we have school or not? We pay that 185?
Yeah, well, 180 of it would be school days, and then a couple days before and a couple days after.
Anybody else have any questions? Bert?
Will we have any input on who's selected, or is that totally up to the
We, at our level, we had a little bit of input on, but I think they know who they want, and we're not objecting to that choice.
And when they talk about reassigning, are they talking about pulling someone off for emergency, or is that if they have to reassign the person that's working here and then put a
I
different
think it's
person?
on an emergency, and then there may be a day when the regular officer is sick and somebody else will come. But there'll be a uniform officer here at every school.
Anyone else have any questions on it? Okay, any other business to come before this committee?
Yeah, Mr. Helen, can I put Mr. Gunn on, because he's under the gun for, he's got a, and I asked him to come do a brief presentation. on-
Sure.
Yeah. And he's got a concert at 7 o'clock, as you can see. Mr. Gunn, thank you.
A little overdressed, Liz. He said it was formal attire.
Thank you, man. Sorry, Jim. You're up. Your show.
So I wanted to take this opportunity and just present a few highlights of the year. Last weekend, we competed at the Six Flags in Wayland at the Music in the Parks Festival. We did very well.
The camera
Oh,
is
sorry.
on you. I don't know if you're over by Mark, if you might do a little better, just because I think the public should hear this too.
There you go.
Thank you.
We did very well. The jazz ensemble placed third in its division and with a rating of excellence. The concert band and concert choir both had a rating of superior, first in their division, and then best overall band and choir for that weekend. We also performed at the Large Youth Music Festival this year in March. We had 5 students who were accepted to the All-State Music Festival and 1 student accepted to the Jazz All-State Music Festival. But what I'm really most proud of is the second half of that sheet that I handed out, and that's really all the alumni over the past 4 years that are continuing music in college. You know, on that list is really everything from glee clubs to you know, prestigious university choirs. I often tell my students that my purpose really is to get to the point where they don't need me anymore. So that really is good proof of that. I have 2 students who are actually international right now. Sam Edgar is in the Notre Dame Glee Club in Ireland, and then Chris Bramer is in Austria with the Lehigh University Concert Choir. So really, really proud of that, and I think that just shows that this really is an investment. You know, it's not just an activity. I often tell 8th graders that are coming up that, you know, doing band in middle school and not doing it in high school is kind of like going to work all week and not getting paid for it. You know, so this is really, you know, a continuation of that. I want to thank everyone for their support over the last few years. It's really been a really, really great year, and just, you know, to see that much retention in the college level, I think is really impressive. Tonight's concert, if you're coming, the theme is Hard Times, and it really centers around this piece from a contemporary musical called Dear Evan Hansen. And it's a piece you will be found that the kids are certainly connected with. The musical has to deal with a lot of teen anxiety and depression. So it was great having those conversations in class and being able to connect with that. I also want to thank Tennille Torino for helping to guide me in facilitating those discussions in a responsible and healthy way. So it should be a really, really great performance. So thank you very much for your time. Unless any of you have any questions or...
We're down at the college too tonight. We've outgrown both the gymnasium and our lecture hall, and under the direction of Mr. Gunn. I just can't say enough. If you have not seen his performances, it is something truly, truly to be proud of. It's unbelievable. And I've heard a lot of the selections that he's been working on. Outstanding. Good luck tonight.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. Gunn?
Yes,
Those are the awards you got?
2 of them, yes. The rest of them at the college, so.
Can you tell us about each of them? I know we have a list here, but which one is which?
These are the overall, so this is for concert, what does it say, band, and this is for concert choir.
Very
So
nice.
the other ones are at the college, so.
Very
See you down there.
Thank you.
Very much.
Break a leg.
You have to build more cases.
With him, yeah, absolutely. He's got them all filled up. What he doesn't know is they did a beautiful video, and the public they'll see this anyway, but they came and presented it to me today. Rather than give him a plaque, this year's class put out an outstanding video using a lot of that equipment that we purchased from CTE. So tonight, it'll be on both sides of the screen. At the end, he does all his awards. Tonight, he gives his outstanding senior and scholarship and all that. It really is a nice way to end the concert. But if you haven't seen it, it is outstanding. So at the end, he's going to be a little surprised when he sees what the kids presented tonight.
It's also nice because I've heard community members who don't normally come for, they don't go to sporting events or whatever.
It'll be a full house.
Will come to the concert, and Silver Hall is packed, and the acoustics are superb. So it's worth going.
He also directs the Penny Choral Society,
He
too.
does, and they did a composition by
Right,
Ian
with our
Soderbergh
kids.
this past
Yep.
week, which was
Amazing.
this
We've
past
just
month.
he's taken it to a completely different level.
Yes, he certainly has.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me do that.
Now, we started with policy and budget because there were more members here than any other committee, but it doesn't matter to me, Mark, who we go on to next. In the interest of time, is there a committee who should go?
I'd like to do, for the sake of the athletic purpose time, as you run around all kinds of things, we could just go to do facilities next.
Sure.
And move that up to the number 1 slot.
Okay, so, anything for agenda review and disposition?
Nope.
No. So,
And then the minutes, Christie has agreed to take over vice chair, and this is
learning
her
here.
first
Student.
time, so. We all learn in school. The minutes, I usually ask if there are amendments or corrections, and if there are none, they stand approved as written.
Any amendments or corrections to the minutes? Previous meeting? Okay, so, we just move on to the next one.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so spring, summer project, CTE
Well,
continuation.
if we could, Madam Chair, if we could do track committee request, administrative layout clarification, which is down below.
Yep, number
Right.
5.
As you know, a number of months ago, the committee that is exploring the possibility of building a track at Plymouth Regional High School came before you with their consulting engineer and put forward 3 options that they studied. And we certainly appreciate all those efforts and quite frankly, answered a couple of questions that I had about the site. But when that was done, they handed out this comparison sheet. Does everyone have a copy of this? I'll wait till everyone is.
Anybody else see one?
And there were some corresponding sheets that went with it, but would probably at this point only confuse you. But if there are specifics, So I asked Jim to be here with us tonight because he sat, many of us met with the committee, but Jim sat with them more often than anyone else. The first option, before I do that, their question was to the board, not to me, but to you. Would you endorse one of these programs? So when we try and raise money, we can point to something that people would be donating towards. Did I get that right? Was that the request? And so you took that under advisement. We went into budget season, and so now is the time to get it back up into committee, and you can have a conversation about it. So the first option was a track around the existing football field. You don't need me to read you all the columns out, but this came in at a total of $2.25 million. And that included not only a track, but that proposal included $800,000 towards a synthetic turf field, bleachers, field lighting, using the existing scoreboard, the existing press box, $90,000 in site work, and 2,640 square feet of walls. So, and then you can to read the comments. The issue that I had raised was it big enough to have an 8-lane track? Because in order to host many events, you need 8 lanes. The committee came back and said that my interpretation was wrong, that you need 8 lanes for sprints on one side of the field, but you then could go to 6 lanes around them. Now, I never saw that watching the 200, quite frankly, but you know, but that was their response to the question. But my concern, quite frankly, was you build a 6-lane track. You know, what can we host? And so that's a question that's up. Any questions on option 1? You get a chance to read across them.
Do you want questions or comments? We can talk about these.
Well, it's comments, and because I may not have answers, you know, but certainly comments.
Yeah, I have a few comments. Because at the time, and I was unable to make all the meetings that we had, but I was here for a couple, I think. I'd expressed some concern about putting the track around the football field more so in the sense of the site work that needed to be done and changing the atmosphere for football games. And one of my personal biases from having been at a lot of high school and college football games is it changes the atmosphere for the crowd and for the players to have a track around the field. And I personally don't like it. Because it puts you farther away, and I think one of the unique aspects we have here, having been to a lot of different fields, is we do have a unique atmosphere with the fans there and people walking around the field. I would hate to lose that. Cut back into the hill, move the press box back, just to try and squeeze the track in. Having said that, I am in favor of track too, and I would like to have a track if we can make it work, but at this point, if I would put to the decision, yes or no, personally, would I support it around the football field? The answer would be no. I think the costs outweigh the benefits to doing that. If there were another option or an off-site place someplace or partnering with a college, which I think is the ideal choice if we could do that, I would be in favor of pursuing something like that. I did go out and I asked some people, and some people expressed some of the same concern that I have. Of course, that's the crowd I run into. So, but I have had some people come up to me unsolicited to say, "Hey, I've heard about this. I'm against it." So that's the feedback that I have, and that's where I stand on it right now.
Are they against the option of circling the football field specifically, or are they against the track altogether?
I didn't hear anything about that, no. And I'm not sure that that message made it totally out to the community anyway. I think that because when the committee came, it was clear to me that they kind of had ruled out options 2 and 3 just as being impractical, being a little more expensive, being a little more site work, that type of thing, that they were looking for. And I think I asked that question of the superintendent, what they were looking for, and they were actually looking for not just an endorsement of the idea of a track, which I might be okay with. They were looking for an endorsement idea of the track as proposed in option 1 around the football field, because, and I understand the practical concerns, when you're going out to fundraise, you want to say, we have the support of the board for this project, and this is what the project's going. So I understand those concerns. I personally would not be in favor of that. Again, I haven't spoken with everyone here. I don't know what the rest of the board thinks, but that's where I am on the issue.
I 100% disagree with you. And that doesn't happen very often.
100% or 98%?
It's like 100. And the
Okay.
reason is that we're talking about one team who has a place to play, and the concern that it might change the ambiance for that team and those parents at the expense of another entire team of kids who have never been able to have a home meet here. And if you think about, well, okay, we'll have to sit on bleachers, and I love football. I'm a football person and I really enjoy it. But there are, 70 kids on that track team every year? And that's a really big team and a lot of kids who have to travel to every meet and they never get to be at home. And if it's at the expense of another team saying, well, we have to give up a little, we'll get a great turf field, I'm okay with that. Because I think there has to be give and take in a community like this. It can't just be focused around tradition and how it's always been. So that's my 2 cents on it. Christy Phil has this.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
I have concerns, a point that I raised at the last meeting, and that is the financial impact. We say we use this as conceptual, but I think that's one short step away from having to fund part of it. And until the tax rates drop, again, I think we're looking over a 12% assessment this coming year. I think people have said to me, enough's enough. And they've been very supportive. We heard it at the
Absolutely.
session, Mark, that we went to. I think they use the term heroic efforts by many communities.
Yeah.
And for that reason, until there's as close to a guarantee as we can get, this is not going to be piled on to what I consider already to be pretty hefty impacts on our communities. I would not support that. Sorry.
And that's what I'm running into too in Ashland, another thing for Plymouth? We're giving Plymouth a track, and it's not just Plymouth High School, it's Plymouth Town that they're seeing. We, the sending towns, have to pay. So it's a cost concern.
For those board members that just heard Cappy's, as I go out, and I'm in all of your towns and all kinds of meetings, and there is a sense that if we do something here at the high school, the residents of Plymouth get that benefit more so than the residents of Wentworth or Rumney, and absolutely so. I mean, if you want to walk around a track and you live in Plymouth, you just come down here, walk around the track, go back. Some person from Wentworth that has to drive, 30 or 35 minutes in, do that and come back. So there is a natural bias to say another thing from Plymouth. And we just have to live with that because this is the host community. Now, Plymouth folks would argue, well, the host community, it's a police issue, it's a fire issue, it's all of these other issues. But that, we don't need to go down that road. But those are the comments that get made.
When you look at the financial impact, with the synthetic turf at $800,000 and the bleachers at $200,000 and the lighting at $300,000, there's $1 million or more. What is the, has there been any exploration, Jim, of other options as far as, does it have to be synthetic turf, and do we have to have the lighting and the other stuff that, you know, does this bill have to be $2.2 million?
I think the committee, and all of the concerns, it's funny that you talked about here in the last 10 minutes, we did over about a year's worth of really battling, of trying to find the right, you know, the right balance. I guess the thought was, if you're gonna unearth wherever it is, out front, out back of the school, I've had other people coming to me, never mind track, boy, we really, especially this spring, we need a turf, it's time for a turf. So, that'd be nice too, but that's at the cost of $1 million. So I think this was done saying, all right, if this is gonna happen, we know that we're one, never mind a school without, you know, one of only a few schools in Division II or one without a track, but also it's getting to the point without, you know, anybody that's doing anything new, it's gonna be a turf. So there wasn't a huge discussion. I think they were just saying, all right, if we're gonna go for it, we really would like a turf.
My question, it runs along the same line as what Maureen just said, is the financing of this project. This is only the presentation of their investigation, what things would cost to go forward. Has there been any investigation about grants or funding from the outside so that the total bill wouldn't be all a burden for us?
Well, again, I believe in the last meeting, there was a dozen years ago, 9, 10, 11, 12 years ago, that first proposal of a track, and I believe it was an understanding of $500,000 had to be raised, and that number kept being thrown around in these meetings, but I believe at the last school board meeting, it's gonna be half the cost of whatever the final cost is. If it's up at $3 million, then the track committee they'll have to get grants funding for 1.5, if it gets up to be 3. So that was, I think everybody was in agreement when we left, so, yeah, that's
I want to make
what
sure.
the track committee is hoping, what we're hoping is if we get the okay, the track committee could then begin to say, all right, now we have to come up with X amount of dollars, instead of just kind of.
I want to make sure the general public is aware of that.
Yeah.
And that's before the school board would agree to pay to put anything down.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just looking for, you know, the support of one of these proposals, and the proposal that the Ty and Bond Engineering felt that it was best out there. We were really hoping, to be honest, I was hoping out front would work. I really, because we would have been able to gain an extra field. You know, if you could sit, you're gonna tell me you're gonna have a track and an extra field? Absolutely, that's great. We don't have to be fighting for all these little slices of practice spots, like a dirt parking lot. And we have some teams practicing in some, never mind the track team, some really tough situations. But.
So what are we looking for now?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not looking for anything. The track committee is asking the school board if they would endorse one of these options so that they could point to that option and begin to raise money. And I think I'm asking it just as they would ask it.
Are you looking for it tonight?
Sooner than later. I mean, I think they asked you during their presentation, I think they were here in September or October. I think it was some warmer fall month. And I think that's they want to start raising money as fast as they can to make the track a reality.
I think I'd like to know if option 2 and 3 are feasible. I mean,
The engineering company.
I don't know.
The engineering company felt that the first option was the best option.
Okay.
There'd be an awful lot of change out front to squeeze in a track. And that, you know, changing the entrance and exits, parking, you'd have to recreate, which, when we were talking about it as a committee, I said, you know, the parking lot's been a bone of contention for a long time. If you're gonna tell people that they'd get a new parking lot, but obviously that comes with a cost. And a lot of that parking, I think, would have to be out back where it is here, and even beginning to go up towards Highland Street and do some levels, and then change out and blow up the SAU building. So there's a lot of things that it would be a bit invasive.
And then option 3?
I don't believe that's much of an option over at that soccer field by the Plymouth, if you've ever walked
Well,
out
we
back
don't,
there.
yeah, we don't own the land.
Right.
That's the Plymouth Elementary School.
Okay, no, I'm
And-
asking
yeah.
because I'm asking about location
Yeah.
and
Did-
what's feasible. So really, you're just really asking about option 1.
The committee, yep, when we came last time,
Okay.
basically said, option 1 is
Okay.
the one that we're doing.
Yeah.
No, go ahead, Rob, sorry.
Refresh my memory about the land between the high school and Highland. Is there anything in that area that can be used, or just too wet and not level?
It's
Wetland?
wet. The Conservation Commission has been clear with us. That's why the soccer lacrosse field ends where it ends, because there's a stream, year-round stream that runs right behind that field. Into
Major ledge to the right.
culvert that goes down under the walking path and then sends itself out that way. That hill is constant. I mean, the water pours off of that hill. And also, it's a gradual incline to Highland Street. The district owns all that land.
I know.
But it's beautiful in its natural state now, to be very honest with you.
Okay.
Did you want to say something?
Yeah, we didn't look at any options of buying another piece of property relatively close.
The committee, we discussed, didn't really go heavy at what, just kind of said, well, where are some spots? And I think there was one out towards, that somebody had mentioned out towards Rumney.
Towards the airport.
Yes. So, I mean, other than just kind of saying, all right, well, if we're gonna go off-site, where could we go? Reached out to Holderness, we reached out to Holderness Prep School. Do you have any interest in, they're gonna be taking on a major renovation in their athletic facility, hopefully in the next 5 years, so they were, at that point, not really interested in looking at a track. So, yeah.
Yeah, and it's back there, it's owned by a farm that abuts the airport. There's a back farm back there.
Yeah,
I've been back there. That's, that's private property as well.
and
And the
again,
airport is very protective
yeah,
of their space.
yeah. And an off-site track is, the Wolfboro has the Nick. So, like anything, there's some things.
Negotiations.
Yeah, you have to work. It's a little different when it's off-site.
Okay.
I had the same question, actually, although I will read it again. I can't believe that we need 2 tracks in town, which is why I still think that possibly with a college who does not have an outdoor track, I mean, I know there's some concerns about that, but, and from what I heard from the discussions, there was maybe some loose discussions at one point, but I don't know if anyone's ever had any serious discussions with the college about that, and I don't know what their plans are. But it would seem to me, why would you need 2 tracks in town? Eventually, when you have a college, right down the street. I just threw that out there as a possibility. I mean, that's the indoor track that we
Are
can
they
use.
talking about, oh, you're saying indoor track?
No, we have the indoor track, but it would seem to me at some point, and I don't have any information on this, that I would think that a college would want an outdoor track. I mean, how many schools in the LEC don't have an outdoor track,
Yeah, I don't know.
right? I don't know.
How did they arrive at the $9,000 for site work?
Oh, we've no idea. That was
For what?
Site work. Yeah. But I would question, once, without any test borings, it's my understanding, I don't know how accurate it is, that there's ledge.
There is ledge.
Okay, and now.
Having done this a few times out there.
Yeah, but with ledge, I would think that 90,000 is going to increase significantly. So I think if you're going to be looking at, comparing apples to apples, you got to do something first to nail that number down a little bit closer.
Don't contractors have a ledge clause in their contract? They accept a job for a certain amount of money, but if they strike ledge, then this escalates. Yeah.
Some do. Depends on the project.
But having done one of these, putting in the synthetic field and track, in one furthest most corner, they hit ledge. And that price was not significant.
Does anyone want to make a motion?
I still don't know what we're making a motion about. I mean, I have no numbers really. I mean, this is a committee kind of guessing. And I don't like making decisions based on guessing of what it's going to cost the taxpayer. My concern is, and I've said this on all the sports things we've got involved with, once you give a yes on anything, we end up paying. The hockey team is going to end up with, I just see it coming, and we always end up paying. So when we vote for this, be prepared that you're going to spend $1.5 million to put a field in. Whether it goes over the track, whether it goes around the football field or not. That's really what we're voting for. In my view, is committing $1.5 million during a tax season that's not very good right now. The last couple of years have been just atrocious on the town of Plymouth. We got a college that doesn't pay any taxes to us, and we own 40% of the profit. Do the numbers, it's tight. I know that the outlying communities feel bad that we're getting a track, and they think it's a big deal for us. It might be. I love Sam's idea. It's about time the college steps up to the plate. They always want to kind of work with us. This would be a great opportunity. And if they're looking for a track, which I think they probably are outside,
I don't know, yeah.
I mean, I would like to hear from them at least before I vote. It's an option. And I don't think the track needs to be here. I know when I was in high school, the track wasn't even close to the high school. So I don't think we have to kind of limit ourselves to this facility. We should probably look around.
I would guess that college to the track would be down in the field house area, down in that area. That's not that far. A couple of miles away.
The argument would be great.
Yeah.
Jim, do you know, did they talk to the college at all?
I mean, same thing, other than just, I mean, in casual conversation. I can't remember any
I
specific.
don't know any information about the college, whether they want a track or don't want a track. The plans that I saw years ago did not have a track on them outdoors. And so I don't know what their plans are formally or informally. But when the committee was here before, I asked the question, just generally, and the gist that I got was there was some informal discussion, but I wasn't clear with whom, whether there had been formal discussions. I don't even know who at the college, other than the board of trustees or the president, would have the authority to make decisions like that.
So it appears that we are not ready to support this at this time. That maybe recommending the track and field committee maybe reach out to PSU officially and start with that, firm up some of these moves. I think that's where we're at.
Should we delay the vote for another month, or?
I think it's going to take more than a month to
Yeah.
get the
We just have the same
information.
information in a month.
Yeah.
Right.
We need more
We
information.
need more information.
More options.
Jim will work with the track committee, and the long and short, the board's not ready to endorse one of these proposals. If you continue to look at other options, you can bring them to the board. Fair enough?
If I could, when we bring the next options, if we could show what the tax liability would be or whatever, you're going to be guessing anyhow, Mark. But it's going to raise the taxes by X amount.
Yeah, I mean, that's a simple thing. Dan could come in here and whip that right off. It's, if we raise half of it, then what's the impact on the other half over the term of the bond? The issue becomes are those hard and fast construction numbers, because and I know, Tim, if you tell them 12 cents a thousand for 5 years and it ends up being 25 cents, then it's not gonna go well out there, so. It's, both you and Peter raised good points on trying to nail down a number, because anytime you're in construction, all of you renovated and redone, you know what happens, so.
Yeah, we were just looking at those options, 2.5 million, glass and 11.
Yeah. I will say that site is important. Site is really important. You bring this project in on a flat piece of sandy ground, you're saving some serious money. So site is important.
So we bring in the.
I've been out there patiently, because I'll get them on.
Thank you, Jim.
Sorry that we moved things around and I didn't know the real time. Come on, man.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks.
Jimmy, we're done.
Sorry, guys, all right.
I watched one of the. Oh, did you? Yeah. I was watching my phone and then I.
Could you answer me the first question? Because I never know. Good for you. Answer the first.
Don't worry about it.
They're so quick. That's.
Madam Chair, if I may introduce the
Yeah, they are.
two coaches, Jay Fogarty and Troy Harris, and they'll do the introduction, but they have a lovely presentation for you with Granite State Challenge. Jay?
Thanks, Mr. Parsons. I was invited tonight to tell you a little bit about the Granite State Challenge team and everything we do, just so you're aware of what we've got going on. I've got 3 team members here tonight, so I've got Rihanna Hurley, this is Ben Kresge, and Reese Harris. And on the end is Mr. Troy Harris. He's a fitness teacher at school, and he also coaches with me, these guys. Because it is a pretty big lineup. About 7 years ago, when I took this on, it was called the Granite State Challenge Team. And we would only compete in the TV show. But over the years, we've added other competitions into the mix. So every year we go to the History Bowl, which is a national competition. This year we placed second in the state. We lost to Hanover in a really close match. That qualified us for nationals, which is in Washington, D.C. We decided not to go to Washington this year. We went to a different national, which I'll talk about in a bit. We also compete in the New Hampshire Quiz Bowl, so that's just a statewide group. We came in 4th in the state this year in that tournament, and that's held at the State House in Concord, and there are a great number of those competitions throughout the year. As I mentioned, we were in the Granite State Challenge, which is a TV show. I'm going to show you some footage from the actual show, but we were the state champs this year in the Granite State Challenge. So,
All right.
now, I know Mr. Parsons is not very good at keeping a secret, but he may have told you that beforehand, but I hope not. So these episodes are still airing. After we won the state competition, they sent us down to WGBH Boston, where we played Maine's state championship team. And I'm going to show you some footage from that because that aired last weekend. And then next weekend, we won this match, so we went to play the Massachusetts team for the entire New England televised event. So I can't tell you how that turns out, but probably when I leave, Mr. Parsons will. So anyway, we're not supposed to talk until it goes on TV. But you can watch all these online. I'm going to show you a couple seconds, a couple minutes out of this so you get a feel. And the final big event that we're involved in is called NAQT. It's the National Academic Quiz Bowl Tournaments. And those are, we hold statewide competitions. So teams from Mass and Vermont, New Hampshire come to our school. And then we go down to all those places and compete. We qualified for Small Schools Nationals, which was in Chicago, and we ended up 4th in the nation this year.
Wow.
So that's that huge trophy right there. And these guys just got back from that a couple of weeks ago, and that was truly impressive showing. So to give you a feel of what the competition's like, the televised events are actually, they're made for TV. So there are some elements that are a little bit different from these other competitions. The questions in this, believe it or not, are actually much easier than we're used to. So they want you at home to be able to come up with the questions. They also let us interrupt the questions. So these guys are so incredible at recall and quiz show stuff that they're able to come up with the answer before the question is finished. However, on the game show for TV, they want us at home to hear the whole question, so they don't let us ring in early, which is actually a huge disadvantage because our team's so good that being held out, being locked out of a question is actually harder for us because we know it way beforehand. So I'm going to show you the intro, and then I'll show you a speed round, and then I'll show you the exciting conclusion. So
just one quick note on the exciting conclusion is you actually can ring in early in that round.
What's that?
That last round, you actually can ring in early.
Oh, right. So they do let you interrupt, so you'll get to see how quick it can be. And PBRSB student right there. We have about 20 students on the team. These guys came tonight because they were part of the championship team, but we do have quite a few students who are involved in the program.
K-Show semifinals with New Hampshire. Taking on Maine.
So that's the intro. You can see it's kind of a lot going on. It's a pretty wild setting, and it's challenging to keep your head on straight in that kind of intensity. So here is mid-match. This is the speed round where it's head-to-head.
That's the last round.
You're right. I think I might have lost it then. So let me zip along.
Coming out as the high school. Coming out as the high school. Coming out as the high school. Coming out as the high school.
Stuff never works when I want it to work.
What's coming? How does really cool what happens as you all come down and go hand to hand. So having said that, come on down, let's go hand to hand. Okay, we're about to go head to head. I have New Hampshire to my left, I have the state of Maine to my right. We'll shake hands, so we'll get started in this round. And by the way, a reminder, in this round, you get 10 points for correct answers. Incorrect answers, however, will cost you 10 points. You can buzz in at any time. So the clock is set at 90 seconds, and here we go. Name the only country ever to use atomic weapons in war. Yes, U.S. Yes, our sun is one of over 100 billion stars in what galaxy? Yes? The Milky Way. Yes, The Great Gatsby did not sell well until after the death of one author who wrote it. Yes. That's how it's shown. Yes, in 2018, after 13 years, the FBI recovered stolen ruby slippers worn by what star in The Wizard of Oz? Yes. Gene Garland. Yes. What U.S. city is the setting for the Tennessee Williams play A Streetcar Named Desire? New Orleans. What is the only planet in the solar system known to have active plate tectonics? Yes, Earth. Yes, in Great Britain, what upper house of parliament is also known as the House of Peers? House of Lords. The retina contains what two types of photorealism? Yes. Rods and cones. Yes. What character from Mother Goose nursery rhyme likes to eat curds and whey? Yes. Yes. What French composer died 3 months after the premiere of his opera Carmen? Yes. Bizet. Yes. What three-letter word refers to the area of absolute calmness at the center of a hurricane? Yes. The eye. Yes. World War I broke out in Europe during the summer of what year? 1914. What word beginning with the letter C refers to the highest political position in the Roman Republic? Yes. Yes. What U.S. state includes Diamond Head, a dormant volcano, and famous landmark? Oh, that's the bell. And in Hawaii is the answer there with the Diamond Head.
So they were smart not to ring in when they didn't know, because I think there's a negative score that you get when you ring in and don't know. So here is the exciting conclusion. we really turned it on in the third round. So I'm trying to show you some points where Maine really is competitive against us. So this is the last round.
Good luck, here we go. What celestial body is approximately 93 million miles from Earth? Yes, Thomas. So, yes. What songwriting team wrote the Pirates of Penzance? Yes, Reese. Gilbert Sullivan. Yes. What U.S. state was the site of the historic Lincoln-Douglas debates? Yes. I'm sorry? Illinois. Yes. What NASA space shuttle ended in disaster in 2003? Yes, man. Challenger. No, the Columbia. In 2018, what Glee actor won an Emmy for the assassination of Gianni Versace, an American crime story? Darren Chris, although oxygen gas is colorless, the liquid form of oxygen is Edmund Hellman. Yes, the best-selling memoir, A Higher Loyalty, was released in 2018 by what former FBI agent? Yes, Reese? Comey. Yes, James Comey. What author of Adult's House is known? Yes, Reese? Ibsen. Yes, the Ukrainian city of Odessa is located on what sea? Yes, Eric? Crimean. No, the Black Sea. Name the third president of the United States. Yes, Thomas?
Oh,
yes,
gets it.
What year marked the English defeat of the Spanish Armada?
1588.
Yes, Edmund. 1588. Yes. Folk music legend Bob Dylan was born in 1941 with what original last name?
Zimmerman.
Zimmerman. What city is home to one of the world's largest plazas, Tiananmen Square? Yes, Eric. Beijing. Yeah. What New York race is the oldest event of the Triple Crown? Yes, Thomas. Yes. Who was the first U.S. president to appoint a female? Oh,
Reagan.
That is the bell. That is the game. The winner, New Hampshire.
So, it's pretty exciting to be there, and I do really like winning. But it's not all about winning.
Yeah, right.
Some things that this team gets to experience, as I mentioned, there's about 20 people on this team, and we do get to travel all the time. So, all over New England, Chicago this year, Washington in years past, and throughout these travels, we really get a feel for how well our school supports our team. At one of the TV matches, everybody was showing up on their own car, and we show up in a van and we come all together, and it's really nice that you guys do give us the support. I feel like these guys have learned how to deal with diversity. This is the only team I've ever coached that can come from behind. So a lot of times this year they were down, and usually when we get down like that, it's hard to come back and fight that challenge. And these guys came from behind and shocked many, many good teams. The final thing that I think is important is these guys do an incredible job of representing our school. I don't even have to tell them how to behave. They're a class act. We're 28 times over the school year, we're going to events, and I don't have to worry about what they're going to do when they show up. We go out for lunch after every big win. I know they're going to be well behaved in the restaurant. Despite our success, other schools still appreciate how we carry ourselves, whether we win or lose. And there's countless anecdotes from other coaches I can tell you about what a great team we are and how we carry ourselves. They went 28 times in-state, out-of-state, across the country, and represented Plymouth's academics and sportsmanship in the best possible light. Before we head out, do you guys have any questions?
I'd just like to thank Mr. Fogarty and Mr. Harris. You put in a lot of time, and we really appreciate the work that you've done.
Thank you.
But these guys make it worth it.
Yeah, it's very satisfying, and working with the best people in the school is really a treat.
To go out to Chicago like these guys did, and they pulled off probably the greatest run of upsets in the history of that tournament. And just, we're turning heads left and right, and it was just amazing to watch. And like you said, they're cool as a cucumber, and they never get down. Even when they're behind, you know they got a chance to come back because they're tenacious.
Yeah. So
If you look out front when you come in, you'll see the monument, first graded state challenge, I think was in 1998, I want to say, Danny just said that?
96 was-
96?
Yeah.
That was a big deal. That's the entire state. We had that down at Silver Rock Hall because we couldn't fit everybody. There was another northern team we're against, I think it was Littleton. But this is our third?
The second.
Third. So I've had John. John is going to etch these kids this year. And if you look over the gym when you come in, there's a banner there, state championship. That's 3. That's a big deal. I don't think there's anyone close to the state to have it. And I'm going to cook for these guys or take them out. That's what I do for any state championship team, and the same for these kids. Outstanding, though. Nice job, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent.
Back on track.
Pleasure. It is nice. See, this is a school.
It's wonderful.
So it's great to see all of our kids involved. And that's one of the things I think that Mr. Parsons and I are most proud of, is the high percentage of kids that are involved in something, and making it very much a part of their life. And I think it really adds to school spirit and the camaraderie. And I really like how the school pulls together for any of our groups when they're in competitions, no matter what it is. So. Madam Chair, I just want to do an update and sort of get your blessing for the projects that are ahead of us. We're going to have a busy summer season. As you remember, Article 5 of this year's warrant had $148,000 in it, $100,000 coming from a grant from Homeland Security and $48,000 coming from local property tax dollars. So we're going to begin the process of getting that underway. That is a brand new 911 phone system throughout the building, which is a recommendation of Homeland Security. So if you pick up a phone, call in an emergency from one of the rooms in the north wing, it immediately tells 911 and the responding folks where that emergency is coming from in the building. So we're not wasting time running around looking for who may need some help. Also, the entrance will change, again, at the recommendation of the group, and so that there'll be some bulletproof glass in certain areas and new door entrances, again, with the layout that we talked about probably for 2.5 years. We often get a question of, well, there's a lot of glass around here. You're gonna bulletproof all the glass. It costs a fortune. No, that's not the point. That glass will buy us some time, and as the police have always told us, and time is critical, and so that bulletproof glass does buy us some time, and so we're going to go forward with that recommendation. So thank the voters for approving that project on the warrant overwhelmingly. I mean, a large number of folks approving that. That will be tied into the completion of the CTE project, which, as you know, we'll be doing the paving out back. The entire out back area will be cleaned up. A compactor will be coming in, so we'll set a compactor pad. Compactor will sit on this, and what that will do, it allows us just to have we'll have the compactor in and a recycling bin and something else. There are three units will be out there. But it allows us really to crush down and lower our overall waste costs. And quite frankly, it'll really clean that area up in the back. There'll be some fencing that will come along, and that'll be matched up very much like the fencing that's at the top of Highland Street. It's the poles with the chain links. And the chain links come off during the winter, and then they're put on during the better months. And so that will be really doing a dressing around the curtain of that property, go down a little bit down to the pathway, come to where we have the barrels that stop people from driving, and then on the other side match it and work its way up the walking path. And we're placing some of the fencing along the walking path where those deep crevices are, and also the fencing in the back of the soccer lacrosse field. That's beginning to show. People still call it the new field. It is new field for some of us who've been around a long time, but that's, 10 and 15 years old, some of that fencing. It's just taken a pounding, so we'll be replacing some of that out here. What else will be up to trash comping? The landscaping will be from, and this is part CTE, part local money, the front of the building. That'll all be landscaped and brought down. There'll be curbing, granted to a point, and then the regular pavement curbing. And as it wraps around the building, there's a cement wall that's sort of there, that's painted the color of it. We're actually counting up our loose bricks left over from the project to see if we could do a brick veneer front as far down as we can get it. So we're still looking at that. If it not going to look good, we're not going to do it. We'll just leave the wall. But we're attempting to see what we actually have. Safety upgrade, and that will be in what now is known as the Deachman Atrium. We are going to, the rails will come off there. As you look down, there'll be no rails. There's something going there. But we'll take the rails off there, and those rails are going to be recycled and used in the back, painted black and used in the back as part of the compactor pad and those sorts of things. And we will be glassing in on 3 sides of the atrium so that no one can accidentally fall over, and it'll give us a nice secure look up there. At the same time, that will make all the safety folks pretty happy. And then the library, which is one of the bigger upgrades, and I have some schematics. And again, this would be local, the leftover local money that we have in repairs and maintenance. And we have put this project off for a long time. And we did catch a little bit of a break in special education, and with our other funds, we think we can pull this off. As you walk down the hall, everything now is just square. The proposal is that at where the doors are now, that we come into the library and have two different distinct doors, an entrance and an exit. So kids aren't bumping into each other going either way. We'll widen the corridor, and then there'll be some safety glass there and some changes. And then you come into the room, the carpet will be changed, and there's some new doors, and also new doors in the hallway.
Correct.
Where the Homeland Security wanted those doors, so that the existing kind of doors that we move down the hallway a little bit. So most of these additions are for the security of our kids. So we'll go in there. There'll be some, we have an awful lot of the newer furniture, but we'll have new furniture and sort of a new layout and a circulation desk. So, and quite frankly, I think, and then John is doing some behind the wall stuff. And the area behind, I call it the Buddy Tebow corridor. It's an access out of the library in the back.
Into the stage, too.
It goes into the stage and out to the corridor. It's just another egress in case of emergency. That area we're cleaning up and actually getting rid of an awful lot of stuff that was just sort of housed there. So it'll be a busy summer. You'll see a lot of activity, but I think come fall, it'll really be pretty shiny. Now, our window is 5 weeks. We got to get all this stuff done in 5 weeks because we're getting out so late and then starting at our normal time. Again, we're out June 27th or so.
Teacher's 27th.
Yeah, because of starting after Labor Day.
So we'll move summer school into the north wing. I usually generally do summer school in the library, but we'll be working on rooms in the north wing if we can handle that to accommodate this.
But we'll be plodding along, working within the existing budget, and then next year's budget doesn't have a lot. Quite frankly, it has the projects that we're voting on, and that's about it, and a little bit of routine maintenance. But I think, and my goal is to leave this building so that you're really just routine maintenance for 5 years, and you're really doing some stuff, and you can pay off some of those bonds and everything. So I think we're really getting there. You should be very proud of this building. I mean, when we walk around and look, and we have more visitors now here. There's a state delegation coming up.
The 29th, 30, excuse me.
So and then you look at what some districts, I was reading about another district last night in the Concord paper, and it's just, we're doing really, really well. And again, it's, as Phil said, it's heroic efforts of property taxpayers to keep these assets up. And I think we have a great manager in John Francis in terms of keeping.
This is a 50-year-old building.
Yes, and most people would say, other than the outside architectural design, when you come in here, where it's really, yeah, it's really something.
I just have a quick question. The upgrades, tell me where the money came from. Was that from the CTE project?
It's a combination of monies. There's CTE, there's Department of Safety, Homeland Security grants, and local money.
Okay.
Yeah, and we picked up, we caught a break in one of the larger line items that allowed us to move forward in the project. And as you know, it's been the philosophy of the board to meet our commitment in terms of unreserved fund balance, but also keep the asset of the building up, so we're not swinging wildly with the unreserved fund balance and asking for money on the other side, which all of your districts do, all your sending districts do the exact same thing. So, Madam Chair, that's the sort of the plumbing and heating report for the coming weeks.
A lot of stuff going on. Any other business?
None, Madam Chair, thank you.
So we have a future meeting on June 18th, looks like. And,
No, I mean, I think you can say you're done.
all right.
Yeah. So we'll move on to facilities.
Program
And staffing.
All right. I'd like to call the program and staffing committee to order, gender review and disposition. Anything in that? That's enough. Unless there are any amendments to the minutes of April 16th, they will stand approved as written. Any changes to those? Okay. We heard from Mr. Dunn already. Number 4 is a nomination. Is that non-public?
Yes, that would be non-public. That would be a faculty nomination.
All right. The SHD, 8, 9, and 10 school.
Yes, Madam Chair? There was a hand up. As you well know, we test all 8th graders now in the SAU, and that's the PSAT, and our juniors, all our juniors take the state SAT. So bear with me as I walk you through, because it is some little confusion. If you look, let's take the top. This is our present sophomore class, the class of 2021. And 148 students took the test in both English and math. And the mean score in English was a 480. 67.56, I am reading to you, sorry, met that benchmark. In math, 61 out of the 148 met the mean score of 471, 41.22, not crazy about that mark. You can see the difference. The class underneath is when they were 9th graders. That's the same class. So their English score, 67%, they're about even there. But if you look at the math, there's a big difference here, 59%. My reasoning for that, guys, you're going into a completely different subject area when you enter sophomore year. That's heavy geometry. And it's also a continuation of the Algebra 2. Our kids don't get that Algebra 2 to junior year. And as you recall, Mr. Price made that presentation, how we're going to swing out our math in the future years to come. They'll be getting that Algebra 2 their sophomore year. To the right is the junior score, 156. And again, 76% met it in English, 57% met it in math. Underneath, you're going to see the middle, PSAT. That's our freshman class now, this year. Our ninth grade class this year. 138 kids took the test. 76 met the benchmark in English. 60, almost 62 met it in math. If you look underneath, you can see a big increase there. This is when they were 8th graders. Only 67 met it in English and 51 in math, so they made a 10-point improvement, as you can see in both ends. Sam?
Is this mean score of New Hampshire students or of national students?
National students.
National students.
And the last group there, that's our incoming 8th grade. Those are in your sending school districts now. 152 kids are coming in, and 67 are online in English, and they dropped down to 49 in math.
So we're testing the 8th graders on the PSAT?
Yep.
Yes.
Rather than, they used to take the Smarter Balance.
Okay.
They used to take the Smarter Balance, and the principals all agreed to get them ready for the PSATs.
Kids take it a lot more seriously.
Yeah. They're not bad. They're not bad. And I will share with you, the state hasn't come out with the real ones, my juniors. That'll come out, I think it's May 28th, they're on embargo. Those will be printed in the paper for those kids. Hopefully we had an improvement there, but I'll have those for you at your June meeting.
You said
The SATs, yeah, and that's what the state uses for across the board for all of us in the state of New Hampshire.
We're starting to get some of the elementary test results back. So we're beginning to put those pieces together.
Any questions for Mr. Parsons?
Madam Chair, I do have one. I'd like to pass you out a handout, just an update of our diversity club that is here at the high school. I want to keep you informed what they're doing. Let me give you a chance. This is a flyer that they'll be passing out next week, informing and again, this is our diversity club. The advisor is Carol Lee Simmons. They meet every Wednesday at 3 o'clock. And it's both sides. And I've attended many of the meetings, a very active group. And it's just keeping our students and staff aware of what's out there. In regards, what I wanted to pass out your brochure, take a look, and again, this is something we've been doing all the time, and it gives teachers and some helpful hints, inclusive classroom, best practicing for respecting people's pronouns. So, yeah, we will be a guide for faculty and staff that's available for the kids. If you have any questions or concerns, please reach out to them.
Any questions for Mr. Parsons? All right. This looks like the next one is for non-public.
Well, no, actually, describing a position is certainly public.
Oh, okay.
As you know, we've had a part-time custodian who has worked in the kitchen during the hours that we're serving lunch. And we've had some terrific people work in that role, but it's hard to find somebody to do that. And you'll be accepting a resignation tonight from that person. Mr. Parsons and I sat, and he had the idea of combining with a special ed aid position at .4 and a custodian piece at .6. And also would give some kids an opportunity to work with this aide, an opportunity to do some work around the school. And so we'd like to, for next year, with the board's permission, combine the two positions. It'd be one person functioning as a .6 custodian, a .4 paraprofessional. The custodial piece of that is no heavy equipment. It is merely working in the cafeteria, picking up, and between each of we have 3 lunch periods. 4 lunch groups that come down, but during that period of time, just making sure the tables are fine, there's nothing on the floor, and there's any spills have been picked up, and then also working with the kitchen staff to make sure that their area is they need it to be. And then a couple of students will be working with this person, and this person has those students during the course of the day. And those
Great opportunity for those kids to,
that
to get job life experience.
So, and we'd like to try this. It's a net savings to the district, and it works out pretty well for us, I think.
All right. Any questions? Okay, other business? Then we go into non-public session, so do I hear a motion to go into non-public?
Actually, we could go, we could do that at the very end like we usually do. We could just swing into the board meeting, Madam Chair.
That sounds great. And
We're beyond the 5 o'clock post.
we will be
So,
adjourned.
where we've had the TV camera here, and we've all been here for the committee meetings, how would you recommend we handle the reports from the committee meetings? Do you think we still need to go through everything that was discussed?
No, we just need your blessing on custodial position.
Right.
Moving ahead with the facility stuff. But no, I think informally, and if everyone's fine, we can just do that.
How do folks feel about that? Do they-
Yeah, I don't think you have to rehash the whole.
But it's on camera, it's being taped anyway.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay.
So we're adjourned.
I'm up.
Yeah.
Agenda review and disposition.
I'm all set, Madam Chair.
All right, and no one's here. We've had the quiz bowl. Oh, this is the letter from Annie Custer.
Yes, Mr. Parsons received a letter from Congresswoman Custer, and when we get letters from the congressional delegation, we usually send them forward for the board. Certainly, the board has a real commitment in the school, so Congresswoman just sent her best, and congratulations.
That was very nice.
It is very nice.
Minutes of May 7th have been posted. Unless there are any corrections or amendments, they stand approved. Superintendent's report?
I just would like to say, don't miss the concert tonight. It's going to be in about half an hour, and it's well worth it. But actually, it goes probably, it needs to go about an hour and a half. Yeah. So if you can get down there, even just for a few minutes, I think you'd be impressed.
Mr. Parsons?
Just busy, end of the year, getting ready for graduation, making sure that everybody has what they need before they hit that stage. It's a busy time of the year for the seniors, obviously. Senior awards coming up. The yearbook was presented to me unofficially last week. Kudos to Crystal Francis, our new yearbook editor. It looks tremendous. The kids haven't seen it yet, of the staff. So we're just real busy with the upcoming event. Graduation on the 8th.
And where's graduation going to be?
Graduation will be down the Allwell, 9 o'clock sharp. I get them going. I think I've made the announcements for the valedictorian, salutatory, and the third honors. I think you're aware of that. We did a big piece in the paper a lot. You'll see it hopefully this week. Yearbook assembly, underclass awards will be on June 11th. That's at nighttime, at 6 o'clock. Very convenient for a lot of parents that have responded to us on that. And putting the finishing touches on the growth plan. I'll be able to give you that on the 18th from the NEASD. So we're full speed ahead. So hopefully we're good to go.
Madam Chair, I forgot to say the work on the state budget is underway now. In fact, the important work is the budget itself, which has a big impact on us. And that budget is in Senate Finance Committee right now. The House passed a very favorable budget in terms of support for schools and communities And as you know, in the budget process, there's give and take. So we're monitoring that. I had an opportunity to send a note to our senator, state senator, thanking him for his support, particularly on the Rumney project, and hoping that he can find a way to help us get some more money back for property tax relief, as is in the House budget. So he thanked me for my words, but that was as much as I got.
Didn't praise you like Custer did. It's too bad. So, committee progress reports, I guess we were all here. We just need a motion to approve the summer work as outlined by Mark previously. Do I hear a motion to that? Sam, seconded by Phil. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed and abstaining?
Thank you very much.
And then in the facilities, we also have the recommendation from the superintendent to combine a para and custodial position into one. That was a full-time.
Yeah, full-time position, .6 custodian, .4 paraprofessional. And that's a school year position.
All right. Do we hear a motion on that one? Bernie, seconded by Christie. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed and abstaining? And I think that's it.
Yes,
That's
thank
the
you, ma'am.
business. Do we have any FCC? Did they haven't
No,
met,
they
have
didn't meet. They
Okay.
will have their next meeting the first Monday of June at 5:15 p.m.
Discussion items.
After non-public, we'll be making a nomination of support staff slate for the year, also some resignations, and there will also be a faculty nomination for a position in the language arts department.
Mark, the meeting on June 4th?
Yes, we're finding at this time of year, there's not an awful lot in that first June meeting, and it also is honors night at Silver Arts for the seniors. Many of you attend that. Some of you have children that will be there. As of now, Madam Chair, if it's all right with you, we won't plan on it. If that changes, I'll be in contact with you, and
Sounds good.
and we'll post it. So our next meeting would be committees and full board on June 18th.
Any board member concerns? My only concern would be we have an SAU meeting Thursday night in the library.
No, right here.
Right here.
Yeah.
And I would encourage, all board members are on that board, and I would encourage anyone who can attend to come, because it's a very important meeting. What time is it? Time is 6 o'clock?
6 o'clock, yes. And we have, we've shortened up the presentations. In fact, people that have taken a little more time than they were allotted have already submitted written reports, so they would be responding.
That was very nice, thank you.
They would be responding to that. And also, there's materials, purchasing policy and procedure that we need to update for a federal requirement. So that's coming out in waves to you as we finish it up. So everybody will have all of the materials prior to the meeting.
There being no other business, do I hear a motion to go into non-public for the purposes of nominations and resignations? Bernie, seconded by, right, Barbara, yes, sorry. Yes?
Yes.